Christmas has always been my favorite holiday. The lights, the warmth, the family gathering around the table. It was something I looked forward to every year. But last Christmas was different. I got a call from my dad a week before the celebration, and his words shattered me. "Son," he said, almost casually, "I think it would be better if you didn't come this year. Your brother is bringing his girlfriend, and she's a lawyer, very successful. We don't want you to feel uncomfortable, with where you're at in life right now." I stood there, phone in hand, stunned. I had my own path, my own work, but to my family, it seemed like nothing was ever enough. My younger brother Daniel had always been the golden child, handsome, outgoing, and now with a high-achieving girlfriend to flaunt. I was painted as the disappointment, the one they pitied. That Christmas, while they laughed and toasted over wine, I sat alone in my apartment, nursing a glass of whiskey. The sting wasn't from missing the dinner, but from realizing my family thought so little of me that they'd rather erase me from the picture than celebrate with me. What my parents and brother didn't know, however, was that I had been quietly working on something big for years. After finishing college, I didn't chase the traditional, prestigious careers they admired. Instead, I poured everything I had into building a startup. The hours were brutal, the failures constant, and the sacrifices endless. There were nights I slept under my desk, days I skipped meals to stretch my funds, and moments when I thought of giving up entirely. But slowly, brick by brick, I built something real. My company, a tech firm specializing in AI-driven logistics, had begun attracting investors and clients. We weren't just surviving, we were thriving. By the time Christmas rolled around, I had just signed a multi-million-dollar deal, securing our place in the industry. But I kept it quiet. I wanted my work to speak for itself, not for me to seek validation. My family saw me as the underachiever, the struggling one. In truth, I was already leading a company with hundreds of employees. That Christmas rejection stung, but it also fueled me. I promised myself that the next time they saw me, they wouldn't see the disappointment, they'd see the man I had become. 3 months later, I sat in my office reviewing reports when HR requested a meeting. "We've got a candidate for the operations manager position," the director explained. "He's got a strong resume and some relevant experience. Would you like to meet him?" I nodded absent-mindedly, more focused on the numbers in front of me. It wasn't until I glanced at the resume that I froze. The name, Daniel Williams. My younger brother. My chest tightened, not with anger, but with a strange calmness. He had no idea I was the CEO of this company. He must have applied thinking it was just another firm, a stepping stone in his career. "Schedule the interview," I told HR, my lips curving into a thin smile. The day of the interview arrived, and I stayed in my office, letting HR handle the introductions. I could only imagine the look on his face when the HR manager walked him in, gesturing toward my office door. "This is our CEO, Mr. Williams," she announced proudly. My brother's footsteps faltered, and when his eyes met mine, he went pale. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. For once, the golden child was speechless. The silence in that room was heavy, thick enough to cut with a knife. I leaned back in my chair, studying him. "Daniel," I said evenly, "welcome to my company." His jaw tightened, and his eyes darted around as if trying to make sense of it all. "You're the CEO," he stammered, disbelief dripping from his voice. "Yes," I replied simply, not bothering to elaborate. He sank into the chair across from me, his confidence shaken. For years, he had looked down on me, following my parents' narrative that I was the brother who never measured up. Now, here he was, interviewing for a position at my company, a position I could give, or deny, with a single word. I didn't humiliate him. I wasn't there for revenge. Instead, I asked him the standard interview questions, watching him stumble through answers he would normally have delivered with arrogance. He wasn't prepared for this. When the interview ended, I thanked him for his time. "HR will get back to you," I said, dismissing him. He walked out of my office with his head low, and for the first time, I saw in him not the confident younger brother, but a man who realized the world wasn't as small as he thought. Word spread quickly within the family. I didn't tell them. Daniel did. He couldn't believe it. His unsuccessful older brother was the CEO of a rising company. That evening, I got a call from my mother. Her voice was soft, almost nervous. "Honey, why didn't you tell us? We had no idea." I let her words hang in the air before answering. "Because you never asked. You assumed." She tried to explain, saying they just wanted the best for me, that they didn't mean to hurt me by excluding me from Christmas. But I knew the truth. They had been embarrassed of me. My dad, who had once told me I was wasting my life, called next. He sounded more defensive than apologetic. "We didn't know things were going so well for you," he said. "We just thought," he trailed off, and I didn't bother filling the silence. 4 years, I craved their approval, their pride. But now, their words felt hollow. It wasn't about whether I had money or success. It was about how quickly they dismissed me when they thought I didn't. I told them I was busy and hung up. For the first time, I realized I didn't need their validation anymore. 2 days later, there was a knock on my door. When I opened it, my parents were standing there. My mother carried a basket of baked goods, as if cookies could erase years of favoritism. My dad, stiff and uncomfortable, stood beside her. "We just wanted to see you," my mom said softly. "To talk." I let them in, but I didn't offer them the warmth I once would have. They sat on my couch, looking around my home with wide eyes, taking in the evidence of the life I had built without them. "We're proud of you," my dad finally said, though the words sounded rehearsed. "We really are." I looked at them, feeling a strange detachment. "Are you proud of me?" I asked, "or proud of what I can provide now?" My mom's eyes watered. "That's not fair," she whispered. But it was fair. They hadn't cared when I struggled. They only cared now that I had proven them wrong. They wanted to rewrite the past, to act as though their rejection hadn't left scars. I listened to them, but my heart was cold. Family should stand by you through failure, not only appear in triumph. As they spoke, I felt a surge of clarity. I wasn't angry anymore. I was liberated. 4 years, I had lived in the shadow of their expectations, trying to prove I was worthy of their love. But now, sitting across from them, I realized something important. I didn't need them. My success wasn't for them. It was for me. For the sleepless nights, the sacrifices, the belief I carried when no one else did. My parents asked if we could start fresh, as though forgiveness could be summoned like a light switch. But forgiveness isn't about erasing the past. It's about acknowledging it. And they weren't ready to do that. "I think it's best," I told them, "if we take some space. You need to understand what you did, and I need to protect the life I built." My mom begged, saying family should always stick together. But I thought back to Christmas, when they hadn't cared about sticking together with me. They had chosen appearances over love. I wasn't going to let them back in just because I now fit their picture of success. For the first time, I was setting boundaries. My brother, meanwhile, was furious. He called me, his voice dripping with accusation. "You embarrassed me," he spat. "You set me up." I laughed bitterly. "I didn't set you up. You applied to my company. That's on you." He refused to accept it, blaming me for making him look small. "You've always wanted to be better than me," he shouted. I shook my head. "No, Daniel. I just wanted to be respected. There's a difference." He didn't like hearing that. To him, respect was something he believed he already owned by default, the better son in our parents' eyes. Now, faced with the truth, he was crumbling. I didn't gloat, though. I simply told him that maybe this was his chance to reflect. If he wanted to grow, he had to stop comparing himself to others and start taking responsibility. He hung up on me. I knew then that my relationship with him would take time, if it ever healed at all. That evening, after my parents left and my brother's call ended, I sat alone in my home. It was quiet, but not lonely. For once, I felt peace. I had built a life on my own terms, without shortcuts, without their approval. The boy who once longed for validation had grown into a man who didn't need it anymore. Success had revealed the truth. It wasn't that I was unworthy. It was that they had been too blind to see my worth all along. Now, they were scrambling to be part of a story they had once rejected. I thought about Christmas, about the empty glass of whiskey and the loneliness I felt. This time, I raised a glass of wine to myself, to the journey, to the scars that shaped me. Sometimes, rejection is the greatest gift, because it forces you to find strength within. I didn't hate my family, but I couldn't let them dictate my worth anymore. The next morning, I made a call. Not to my parents, not to my brother, but to a close friend. I told him I wanted to host a gathering at my home, a celebration, not of wealth or success, but of resilience. I invited the people who had stood by me in the hardest times. My college friend who loaned me money for rent, the mentor who believed in my vision, the employees who gave their all when the company was just an idea. When they came, my house filled with laughter, warmth, and love, the very things I had missed last Christmas. I realized then that family isn't just about blood. Family is about those who see your worth even when the world doesn't. My parents may or may not change. My brother may or may not grow. But I had found my circle, my people, and that was enough. As we clinked glasses, I smiled genuinely. The pain of rejection had led me here, to a life I built, to a family I chose. And that call I made, to gather the right people, was the real victory.